Good day, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're going to be reviewing and discussing the Falcon and the Winter Soldier episode 3. Um, Spoiler alert, of course. Yeah, let's begin. So, this episode starts off with an ad for GRC, or the Global Repatriation Council, and their motto is Reset, Restore, Rebuild. And this is their motto for people, I guess, who came back from the blip. However, cutting from the ad, we see a GRC truck pull up, or a van that is, and out of it comes the new Captain America with police, and they're in Germany. And they're apparently doing a raid on this, what seems to be factory or some sort of underground business. And the reason they're doing this raid now is because they're trying to get information on the flag smashers, because they found a connection between this guy and the flag smashers. The guy proceeds to tell them no, he doesn't know anything, and even if he did, he wouldn't. Um, he then spits in the new Captain America's face, and we see him lose it a bit, and he slams the guy into a wall and asks him if he knows who he is, and the guy says he doesn't care. Um, so New Cap is starting to break a little under the pressure, it seems. We then cut to Germany again, well, Berlin, Germany now, and we see Bucky and Sam walking through a jail with an officer, and of course, they're here to meet Zemo. And Bucky tells Sam let him go in alone to speak to him, of course, because Sam is an Avenger, and we know Zemo doesn't like Avengers. So Bucky goes in to meet him, and Zemo starts reciting the words from Civil War that he used to control Bucky, and Bucky is like, those words don't work on me anymore. And Zemo is like, he knows. He just wanted to see Bucky's reaction to it. They proceed to have a little discussion about the Flag Smashers and the serum. And Bucky informs him, of course, that the serum is out there. There are like 8 new super soldiers, and he needs Zemo's help to find out where all this is coming from. So Zemo doesn't want to help, but him and Bucky come to a sort of an agreement on how he would help. We then cut and we see Sam and Bucky in what seems to be a garage. And they're having a conversation, and Bucky tells Sam he's going to hit him a hypothetical situation, and it involves Zemo, and we get a long elaborate plan of Zemo breaking out of prison while Bucky is telling the story. This hypothetical story, that is. And it involves first Zemo giving Bucky some note to pass that guy in jail and causing a fight that would lead to the guards stopping the fight. Then the guards would come in with riot shields as well, and Zemo would slip out disguised as a guard, and one long elaborate plan. So that was funny. Um, and while they're discussing this in the garage, we see Zemo walking as the guard that he stole the uniform from. He walks in dressed as the guard, and Sam is shocked, and Zemo is like because both Sam and Bucky are arguing, and Zemo is like, "Can I have a word?" And they're like, "No," and Zemo is like, "Understood. That I can understand that." So that's pretty funny. Um, we then see that in this garage there's a lot of old cars and model cars, and this is where we find out that Zemo is rich. And he was a baron in Sokovia before. As he said, he was a baron in Sokovia before they dropped or destroyed his country then. So we see some old fancy cars. We see him opening the trunks and getting some bags. One of them, when he opens the car, there's a golden gun. um, when he opens this other car now, we see a bag on the floor, and there's the mask, the Zemo mask. And we see him clearly take it out, and then we cut to an airfield, it seems, and they're about to take off. And again, this is where Sam again is like, "So you're rich," and he reiterates, or he lets them know that he was actually a baron. They get on the flight and they begin discussing the super soldiers, and Zemo mentions Bucky's list that he has and how he's trying to make things right with people he's wrong. Bucky takes back his book, of course. We also get a little discussion between Sam and Bucky and Zemo, and they're talking about music and if Bucky likes a certain type of music and all of that. Um, they also mention something. Zemo begins to mention something about Captain America and the super soldier serum, and more so to the effect of he's talking about symbols and how when someone is made a symbol like Captain America or someone, sooner or later the countries begin to overlook some of the wrongs they do, and it could lead to wars, basically reference to Red Skull, because Red Skull is mentioned here. Uh, so they begin mentioning things how being a symbol could lead to bad, not just good, basically. Um, but it was good getting the Red Skull reference, and then we find out where they're going, which is Madripoor. Um, we then cut to a GRC resettlement camp in Riga, Latvia. Um, we see Kali playing football with some kids outside, and someone calls upstairs to meet a lady who we see is hooked up to what seems to be hospital equipment. This lady's name, I believe, is Donia something. I can't remember. It's an M last name. Um, but she seems to have passed away here. Um, and Kali is crying, of course. So I guess it may be someone close to her. We then cut now to Madripoor and we get a beautiful opening shot of it with the neon lights and everything. Uh, One thing, the cinematography in the show is pretty awesome. And we then get Bucky, Zemo, and Sam walking across a bridge. And Zemo is telling them that Madripoor is a nice place, and then he points to the next island or next part of the city and said that it's nice to visit. But he informs them they need to stay in character or they could die. We see Sam now, sorry, dressed elaborately in a fancy suit, and he's like, why is he dressed like this? And Zemo shows him a picture of the guy he's supposed to be dressed as, and it's the white, no, not the white tiger, sorry. White tiger is actually a hero. Um, he's dressed as the smiling tiger, and they show him a pic, and he's like, oh, this guy really does look like me. And they get into a car now, and the car has a kind of escort with motorbikes around them. Um, and they go into the city, and then we get the shot from the trailer now where they're walking across the walkover, I guess, or um, whatever you want to call it, to go into the city. And there's some cool Indonesian trap music playing. I actually dig that. Um, and we see them going to this bar, and the symbol for the bar is a giant monkey's head. Um, we see some monkey skulls in the bar too, but while going through the bar, we notice a few things. We see a few guys who I'm assuming are guards there, uh, looking at Bucky and Zemo and Sam as they're walking, and we see someone pull a hoodie up over their head and walk away. And they go to the bar, and when they get to the bar now, Zemo calls the bartender over and they begin to speak. And the bartender asks Sam or Smiling Tiger if he'd have his usual. And he proceeds to take a snake out of a jar, cut its stomach, cut piece out of it and drop it in a shot glass with alcohol and give it to Sam. And we then see Sam and Zemo starting to take the shot, and Sam hesitates first. He's like, and puts it down, and he's like, and shots it and swallows it. We then get someone walk up to Zemo after that, and he puts his hand on him, and basically Zemo tells Bucky to attack, and there's a mini fight sequence where Bucky is just wrecking everyone in there, and this is because, of course, Zemo wants them to think he has control of Bucky still, so he's like Winter Soldier attack, and that's why he wrecked everyone. And then they proceed to carry them after this fight ends. Um, The person in charge calls for them to be brought upstairs, and we see it's this lady here. Her name is Selby, and she's the one that they came here to meet to get information, of course, about the super soldier serum, because Zemo mentioned that this would be his first stop to get the leads. Uh, so they proceed to have the conversation, and she mentions that the power broker hired a doctor named Nital, um, to do the serum, and he managed to successfully do it. Um, so we get reference to the power broker again, but we don't see who it is. And during this conversation, the lady basically tells Zemo that, or they make a deal then, and the deal is that he would give her the control words and Bucky if she gives him more information. So they get that bit of information, and they get, well, when they were about to get more information, that is Sam's phone rings, and Sam basically blows their cover, but his phone rings and the lady makes him answer it on speakerphone. And he does, and of course it's his sister, and she's complaining about the bank and the loan and the ship, and that she actually needs his help now. And Sam is trying to play it off, so he's like, "Yeah, we laundered a lot of money from that bank, and he'll have that banker killed." And then we hear his sister calling to her son about something, and then she says, "Sam." She says his name, Sam. Stop playing. And the lady realizes it's somebody else, and orders an attack then to stop them, to kill them. And in doing so, we see the lady is shot first and foremost through the chest by someone, we don't know who, and falls to the ground. And then the guards turn on Bucky and Sam and Zemo, and they fight their way out. Um, and they proceed to run out of the building, and they see a message pop up on their phone that Shelby is dead. There's a bounty for her killers. I believe that's 1K. So I'm not sure in that country how much that is, but that's the bounty. So we see them running, and gunfire starts, and Zemo takes another direction and runs. Sam and Bucky are running, and Sam keeps complaining that he can't run in heels because his dress shoes have heels. We then see a sniper from a window shooting at the guys who are firing at Sam and Bucky, and they run into an alley, and Zemo comes out from behind the part that he took in the alley as well. And they meet up, and the sniper comes down, and it's none other than Sharon. So after Civil War, we didn't see Sharon Carter again until now. So it's pretty good that they reintroduced her into the story now. Um, she decides to take them home, and she carries them to her place, and she's running what seems to be some kind of art gallery selling black market art, actual art, and Sam pulls out his phone and Google something and see that it's true. Um, so yeah, she has them change and all of that, because this whole big building, it seems, is hers. Um, so she's there and she's talking to them, and again they're talking about super soldier serum, and that they need help to find it. And of course Sharon mentions that she's been on the run since, and she can't even talk to her family, and she's here because there's no extradition laws here. So that's the only reason she's here. And other things like that. But more of the same, I guess, with reference to the super soldier serum. So they're just asking for help basically, and Sam offers to help if she helps them, that he'd be able to try to help clear her name. And she's like, she doesn't like charity. So Sam, this is actually the deal then that they made, where Sam would help her if she helps him. So she helps them get the information. Sam helps clear her name. So yeah, she then tells them to relax. She has some business to do, and we see her downstairs showing off the art to some collectors, and it's like a big party going on. So we get a glimpse of Sam walking through and Bucky. Then we see Zemo trying to fist bump and dance in the party. So that's pretty funny. Um, so yeah, and as well, Sharon gets more information on where the Doctor Nethal is. So we cut to the next day now. It's morning time, and they're walking through a shipyard. Sam mentions that this part of Indonesia could rival New York with parties, of course. But they're walking through a shipyard to find the doctor, and Sharon tells them it's in a certain container and they go in. But the container seems to be sealed and no one is there. But Zemo walks up to the end of the container and notices something and pushes the door. And it opens a secret door into what seems to be a lab. So they go up the stairway and they go into the lab and we meet the doctor here. And of course, the doctor is working on some sort of experiment. And they begin interrogating him here to find out more. And he mentions the power broker again. Um, so more on the power broker, but we still don't know who he is in the show. Uh, so yeah, we then see the guys who saw the bounty on Sam and this group decided to come to the shipping yard to get them. So we see Sharon outside fighting off these guys. There's some pretty cool moments. One of them is from the trailer where she's fighting the three guys with the baton and she throws it at one of them and it hits them in the head. Um, and then cut to more interrogation with this guy, the doctor, and basically it's a back and forth between the interrogation and Sharon kicking ass outside. We see she choked out a guy. Um, but more on this interrogation now. So during the interrogation, we see Zemo walking around the room and he finds a gun and hides it in his back pocket. Um, we also learn that the doctor was ghosted, well, not ghosted, but blipped, snapped to into ash, whatever you want to call it, 5 years ago. And he came back recently. We also learned that the reason that they did not have this experiment on record is because of that. And when he came back, the research was scrapped. So he came here, the power broker funded his research to do it. Um, so important information there. We still need to know who the power broker is, but I'm assuming he's rich because he or has a lot of money to be able to do this. We also find out that the guy said that Carly stole the serums from them, as well as that there were 20 vials. We know Carly used 8, or at least we think she used 8 because 8 was the number of soldiers they fought on top of the truck. Um, excluding the one that died, of course, so maybe 7 now. So we don't know where the other 12 serums are. I'm going to assume US agent gets one or steals one and uses it on himself later on in the show. Um, but yeah, so more of Sharon fighting, and then she basically runs back after she's done killing the guy. She runs up in the trailer to warn them, or in the lab. And we see Zemo pulls out the gun that he found and shot the doctor and killed him. So he's dead. Um, and when he did that, a missile is fired at the lab and the lab explodes. And we see all of them run out because the lab, after the missile hits the lab, all the chemicals cause another explosion. So they run out of the lab. And of course, like action movies, Sam and Bucky come out shooting. And they're supposed to break for one direction, but they break for the other direction. And basically, they end up in a gunfight and they run out of ammo. And this leads to Sam and Bucky having an argument like a couple again. And they're like, when I came out, we were supposed to break right or left or whichever direction. And you were supposed to follow me. And Sam says, no, it's the other direction. It's in every action movie ever. Haven't you seen that before? So we get more of their back and forth argument. Um, then we cut and we see Seymour walking on top of one of the trailers with his mask in his hand and he puts it on. And he's a badass. He shoots a pipe and it explodes. He then jumps down and he guns down the guys there and saves everyone. Um, and we see Bucky, Sam, and Sharon make a run for it into a trailer to hide. And in doing so, Bucky knocks out one and then breaks off the handle from one of the trailers and uses it as a javelin and throws it at someone and stabs them in the shoulder and pins them to a trailer. We then see Zemo run into a trailer and he finds what seems to be a really cool car. Um, so he pulls up with his car next to the trailer that Bucky and they are in, and of course, when he does that, Sharon decides that she'll go her own way, and Bucky and Sam will go back to finding the serum. They ask her to leave with them, of course, but she says no, she has things to do, and she tells Sam to make sure he keeps his promise to clear her name. So I'm guessing maybe at the end of the season they may get her name cleared. Um, but Sam and Bucky basically hop into the car. Bucky sits in the front seat and Sam goes to the back. And we get a call back to Civil War now where Sam is like, so you're really not gonna pull your seat up, and Bucky's like, no. Um, and then we see Sharon going to a car. She has a driver, and she says something to the effect of there's something they need to do, I believe. I may be misremembering it, but something to that effect. We then cut back to or we cut to a GRC supply depot, um, and we see some guards in front, and we see Carly and an Asian guy. I feel like I know this Asian guy from some other show or movie, but basically him and Carly are speaking, and they're talking about their dreams in life, and we find out Carly wanted to be a teacher or professor, and the lady who helped her, they were close, and she died. I believe she had tuberculosis. So she died. I believe they wanted to try maybe the super soldier serum on her to heal her, but she died. Um, and then more of Carly talking about why they're doing this, and they're helping each other and helping the world because nobody wants to give medicine and all of that stuff. So we get more on that, and then we cut back to Berlin again, and we see officers showing Captain America and Lamar the scenes of Zemo breaking out of jail, and they're mentioning that basically this happened right as Sam and Bucky showed up, so they're questioning why or how, but Lamar also mentions that they begin talking about maybe they had the right idea because they may have a lead that they don't, and it's time to bet on that hand basically. Off the books, basically, they're going to maybe help Bucky and Sam because they have an idea of what they're doing. Um, of course, we then get Sam making the call to a friend, and he's trying to find out information on Donia, the lady who died, and this is where he finds out she died. Um, and they get the address of her, so they know where to go. I think it's Riga. Riga. Um, Also, in this scene, we get a back and forth between Bucky and Sam, and talk about destroying the shield with Sam, where Sam says that he should have destroyed the shield or something to that effect. Um, so yeah, more reference to that, and Bucky says he'll take it before Sam could do that. So yeah, I'll drop a picture of Bucky as Captain America as well somewhere on the screen for reference for that. We then cut to now Carly basically robbing the depot or the depot of their goods and services. Well, goods, not services, but their goods to share, of course. And one of the guy calls them filthy, and she mentions that they're doing it because they wouldn't help the other people. And she slams the door and closes it, and they go to the car, and she tells the Asian guy to buckle up and to hurry. And there's a car that explodes next to them and sets the building on fire. And this leads to the Asian guy telling her that, there was people in there. And Carly looks like she's going off the deep end too, because she's like, that's the only language they understand, violence. So yeah, parallel with Flag Smasher and Captain America going off the deep end when things don't go their way. So maybe that would lead to something later on. Maybe. We then cut to Riga, and we see Zemo and Bucky walking through the streets with Sam, and they're talking about Sokovia, of course. And Zemo asks them if they've ever been to the memorial of Sokovia, and they say no. And Sam basically tells that, well, not Sam, but Bucky tells Sam and Seymour he's going to go for a walk. And we see him bend down on the ground and pick up a bead. We then see him walk into a back alley and pick up another bead. And he begins speaking and says, "Come out, you dropped something." And he turns around, we don't see anyone. Then when he turns back around, we see someone there. She's saying, "I'm here for Zemo." Of course, this looks like someone from the Dormalage A who's here for Zemo. So we'll get more on that next episode. But Wakanda is here. So there wasn't much comic book reference that I personally could pick up on aside from Bucky saying he'll take the shield. Um, and Zemo, of course, with his comic book costume. I'll throw pictures of that as well. Um, to compare comic book and real Zemo, we find out he's a Baron, but not much in the ways of, I guess, comic book things. I will make a video going into the more into the power broker, maybe when we get to reveal on who he is. I'm going to assume maybe it's General Ross. But all in all, a very good episode. I hope you all enjoyed this quick little review. Uh, Lots of killing took place, but I enjoyed it. So I'll see you all in the next one. And if you enjoyed anything I had to say, of course, feel free to leave a like, leave a dislike, comment, whatever you want. So see you all.